At its heart, this is a story about the sacrifices and the bravery of 35 men, as the Minister has just outlined. The crew of Australia's very first submarine. A story which, alongside our memorial sculpture by Warren Langley, which is out the front of the museum, as well as AE1 objects in the National Maritime Museum collection, we will continue to tell that story. And indeed, we have an exhibition still going around Australia at the moment called War at Sea, the Navy in World War I, in which the story of AE1 Central is very important. So we're going to continue to share and communicate with the school children all around Australia, and indeed, those of you that were out in the foyer will have seen a small display we've just completed, only went up today, on the December expedition. It's now my pleasure to invite Vice Admiral Tim Barrett, AEO, CSC, Chief of Navy, to say a few words. Please welcome Vice Admiral Tim Barrett.
Ministers, admirals, councillors, those involved in the search, but most importantly, and sincerely from me as the Chief of Navy, descendants of those who served, welcome. It's often said that a ship is safe in harbour, but that is not what ships are built for. Warships are built for a purpose. They are built to fight and win in an environment that can be harsh and unforgiving, where one simple mistake or malfunction can result in the loss of the vessel and her crew. This evening we gather to reflect on the service and the sacrifice of the crew of AE1. They hold a very special place in our nation's naval history, and as the Chief of Navy, let me reinforce that for the descendants here tonight. They will be remembered as special people. And we're here also to thank those who've dedicated themselves over a long period of time to try and discover that final resting place, but in particular those who, with great success, managed to release that burden of uncertainty in December last year. With her discovery, we can now provide some comfort to you and to other families and to the nation who still mourn the loss of this courageous crew. The loss of AE1 was one of the Navy's greatest tragedies, one of our greatest unsolved mysteries. And we may not have had all the answers on what happened on that fateful day, but now we are better placed to find out. But importantly, we have been successful in finding the final resting place of the men of that submarine. As the Chief of Navy, I am certainly thankful for the efforts of all of those who have searched for and contributed in finding AE1. I am indeed pleased that so many of those who have contributed are able to be here this evening, but I know that there are many more who are unable to, but who did play a key role. But let me just talk in particular about some. I would like to acknowledge Commander John Foster, who we all know has done so much to be able to keep the story alive and keep not just the interest, but the passion and commitment to find the final resting place. Dr. Michael White, John Mullen, Rear Admiral Peter Briggs, and there are so many more, and I'm sorry if I have not mentioned you all by name, but there are so many who have contributed because of that level of passion. I'd also like to acknowledge the institutions that have been involved, the Australian National Maritime Museum itself, the Submarine Institute of Australia, Silent World Foundation. John Mullins, thank you very much for what you have done, and Find AE1 Limited, but also in our own organisation, the Department of Defence. And Minister, I would like to acknowledge your commitment to what we have done over the last couple of years. It would not have been achieved without your understanding and commitment. Thank you. And I would like to finish, I may not have started by saying I'll be brief, but let me finish by saying I will be brief. I'd like to leave you just with a reflection of the service and the sacrifice of the crew of this submarine. It was written by able seaman John Wheat of HMAS AE1. To the memory of our sister ship AE1 and her crew, we took the first patrol on the 13th They took the second next day. We came back. They didn't. They lie coffined in the deep, keeping their silent watch at Australia's Northern Passage. Heroes all, lest we forget. Thank you.